Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. Yes, NoDQ.com will be covering TNA Bound for Glory. This will most certainly be a very historic event, possibly for more than one reason. Make sure you stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding Bound for Glory. Got your questions now. First one today comes from Darren Holding. With Royal Rumble being in Texas, do you think Steve Austin or Shawn Michaels will host the show or show up but not fight? I do feel that there's a good chance we will see at least one of the Texas WWE legends at the Rumble, because let's face it, WWE is going to need as much help as possible to fill up the Alamo Dome. Yes, the 2017 Royal Rumble will not just be in a regular size arena. It will be in the Alamo Dome. 60,000 plus fans WWE is hoping for, and I'm sure they will be going with all guns firing, trying to draw the biggest paying crowd possible for the second biggest pay-per-view of the year. This is not just any Royal Rumble, this is also the 30th Royal Rumble, and WWE is going all out for this event. And yeah, I think there's a fairly good chance that Steve Austin will be there. Maybe Shawn Michaels, maybe even The Undertaker. I would be surprised if Michaels or Austin actually wrestle. That's one of those rumors that I'll believe when it actually happens. But I could certainly see them making a special appearance, maybe even a referee role or some sort of outside enforcer type role. I could see that happening for the Royal Rumble, no doubt. We'll just have to wait and see who ends up being there, and maybe both of them will be there. Maybe Undertaker will be there as well. Got this one here from Ziggler is Money. Is Dolph Ziggler leaving WWE? Last year he signed a multi-year deal. Why all the rumors that his contract is expiring next month? I have not heard these rumors about Ziggler's contract expiring, so I'm not sure what's going on, but my impression is that this is just a storyline where Dolph Ziggler has his back against the wall and he will finally win the big one. If you want to call the IC title the big one, that's what I'm expecting to happen, that Ziggler will finally win. Makes no sense for him to lose and then come back. I just feel that in this day and age, there's no sense in doing that retirement storyline. I really do not think Ziggler's retiring. That's not what I expect to happen, but I mean, anything's possible at this time. I think he's going to win the match at No Mercy, unless something's going on that I don't know about, and maybe Ziggler is leaving, but I think based on how this storyline's going, it's setting up for a Ziggler win at the pay-per-view. This one comes from Garrison Mendez. Your thoughts on Dolph Ziggler's career versus Miz's title match. Is it a smart idea to give the title to a guy who has been on a losing streak? Well, that's why I think they're doing this storyline. Ziggler has been losing a lot, and now he has to put everything on the line, and it's either put up or shut up. And in the storyline, it makes sense with the way Ziggler's career has been going for him to finally say, you know what, if I can't beat Miz, I'm done. And I feel it's the logical thing to do for this pay-per-view, the next step in the storyline. You know, I do feel that the retirement stipulations don't really have much meaning, but when it's done every now and then and you have a good storyline behind it, I'm okay with them teasing that somebody might retire. So in this case, I think it was the right move, and I think it's very intriguing. The fact that people are even questioning, is Ziggler really retiring? To me, that's a sign that WWE has been doing this right. When you're not sure what's going on and the lines are blurred, then yeah, that's good storytelling and effective storytelling. So I think WWE's doing very well with this. And I think also part of it is how passionate Ziggler was with his promo. And really both of them were great on SmackDown this past week. And I will say I'm looking forward to this match. I think that there will be the drama, and these guys have been doing such a good job that the fans are believing that maybe, just maybe, there's a chance Dolph Ziggler will lose and be gone from WWE for good. This one comes from Chris Strandale. Do you think Miz will ever get another main event push? He's one of my favorite heels and deserves it in my opinion. I would lean towards no, but Miz shows every now and then that he's got some real talent, and I do feel the company dropped the ball on him to a degree back in 2011 when he was hot. Now, the fact that there's so many new guys coming in and you have all these guys in NXT that are on the verge of breaking out, guys like Nakamura and Samoa Joe, I think it's unlikely. I mean, looking back at WWE history, when a guy is pushed for an extended period of time and then loses his push, not often does he get a renewed push back towards the level he was at before. It does happen. There are exceptions to every rule, but generally it doesn't happen. And I think it's a long shot for The Miz to ever be at the level he was at in 2011. But he's doing great work right now, and he's one of the best acts in the company right now. So hats off to The Miz. This one comes from German Cesaro. Is the IC title at its best point since Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels? A lot of fans would argue that The Miz has elevated the title and he's made it mean something. I'm not sure I would go that far to say it's the best it's been since Michaels and Razor Ramon feuded over it. I mean, look back at 2001 with Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho. I mean, that feud was tremendous, and I really do not think that there was a Miz IC title match. Even that Fatal 4-Way match, I do not feel that match was as big of a match as Jericho versus Benoit, the latter match from 2001. And I'm sure there have been some really great IC title matches over the past decade that I'm just not thinking of right now that were just as good as that Fatal 4-Way match. That Fatal 4-Way match was really good, and it was one of the better matches of the year, but it wasn't just The Miz. It was the other three guys that also made that a very memorable match. So, yeah, the IC title is doing well. It would be nice if the IC title can continue to be the workhorse title, and maybe Miz and Ziggler will tear the house down. I think the chances are good that they're going to have a great match, and I think the storyline's working, like I said earlier. So if they keep going in this direction and keep having good matches for the IC title, then yeah, it may hit a new peak that we haven't seen in a very long time. Got this one here from Paul Bessman. Who is the greater IC champ, Mr. Perfect or Macho Man? Why and what match exemplifies your stance? Well, if we're going just by a single match, I would go with Randy Savage because of WrestleMania 3 with Ricky Steamboat, and that feud was a great feud. Mr. Perfect, though, really, it just seemed right when Mr. Perfect had that IC title around his waist. He called himself the perfect champion, and he really acted like a champion, and he did have a lot of very solid matches. He had one match with Tito Santana that was really strong back in 1990, one of the better matches of that era. So it's a toss-up. I think overall Savage had more star power and took the title to an overall higher level, but I think as a champion and just really making the title something special, I mean, it's a toss-up. I mean, it's really close for me. I think I would give the slight edge to Randy, but it's neck and neck. This one comes from Broken Ty Marshall. What were your thoughts on the fans chanting Randy Savage and CM Punk over the cruiserweight match? They want something new and then they do this. I think it just has to do with a lot of the fans not being familiar with the cruiserweight wrestlers. And even though there are a lot of longtime internet WWE fans that remember CM Punk and even remember Randy Savage, let's face it, not everybody watched the Cruiserweight Classic. As strong of reviews that it got, not everybody watched it. I've talked about this before, how I did not even watch the whole thing. So can you imagine most fans trying to watch Raw, SmackDown, the pay-per-views, Talking Smack, the other network shows, and how do they have time to even watch something like the Cruiserweight Classic? And sometimes you have to say, well, you got to make time, but not everybody watched it, and the fact of the matter is it's going to take time to establish these characters, and hopefully in time the fans will react better. It was very disrespectful to chant CM Punk. If you're going to chant CM Punk, why chant it during a segment where WWE is presenting something different? And all of us are asking for something different, and you're right. WWE does something new and the fans are disrespectful. So yeah, it was disappointing. I'm not even going to defend the fans, but I guess I am defending them in a way by saying that, a lot of them were not familiar with the cruiserweight stars, and maybe one cruiserweight match was all they wanted to see on that Raw. I'm not really sure. Maybe they were just fed up with the show in general and were burned out towards the end of the third hour. Again, sounds like I'm making excuses, but I do feel the fans were out of line by chanting that. It was very rude. I mean, in general, you should not chant stuff like that unless you're directing it at the company. We talk about Roman Reigns and fans chanting stuff at him. If you want to speak out against the company, that's one thing. And even chanting it during Reigns' match. Reigns is making millions of dollars. TJ Perkins is not. The guy's trying to work his way up in WWE, so there is a difference. All right, moving on here. This one comes from Beast Slayer. What do you think of the Jamie Noble situation? I think it sucks. At this point, we have not gotten any update on Jamie Noble. I mean, it's believed that he's still in the hospital as of this video. And if you missed it, the report is that he got in a confrontation with another driver who claimed Noble cut him off. And then there were two other guys in the car. They got out and stabbed Noble twice. Once in the upper back and once in the middle of the back around the spine, which is really scary. I mean, poop. Hopefully YouTube doesn't ban my video now for that, or I get in trouble with the ads. Maybe I better censor that out. We'll see. Yeah, I just think it's horrible. I mean, there's really nothing else to say about it, and I hope he's doing okay. I hope he's able to make a full recovery from this. It's just very sad when something like this happens, that people have an argument on the road and it turns into violence. I mean, I've heard some senseless stories over the years. There was even one near where I grew up in Los Angeles where somebody had windshield wiper fluid from another car get on his car, and he basically pulled a gun on the other car. That's a true story. You can look it up. Santa Clarita Road Rage. Look it up. Got this one here from B Hill. Hey Aaron, do you think Michael Cole is hurting the cruiserweight division with his lack of move knowledge on commentary? Maybe to a degree. I mean, I really don't feel he's terrible. I feel he does a decent job. I feel that Daniel Bryan and Ronaldo were overall better, no question. They did a tremendous job with the Cruiserweight Classic, but I feel Cole's doing all right. I'm not sure it's him that's hurting the division. If anything is hurting the division, it's the fans at this point. I mean, not even WWE. They gave the Cruiserweights 2 segments on Raw this week, and WWE is giving attention to the Cruiserweights and showcasing them, and it's something different. So if anything is hurting the Cruiserweight division right now, it's the fans. And hopefully the fan reaction on Raw doesn't convince Vince that this is a bad idea and they give up on it. So I'm hoping they don't do that and just say these guys aren't getting over and we're just going to put them into prelims and have them job out to Braun Strowman or something like that. Got this one here from Oscar. With Devon now as a backstage agent, could you see Bubba having a singles run, but this time as a Bully Ray type character? Maybe as a Bully Ray type character, but again, WWE is focusing on their younger talents, and I doubt they're going to invest that much in an older guy like Bubba Ray on his own. You know, the appeal to bringing back the Dudley Boys was to bring them back as a tag team, as a nostalgia act. I'm not sure WWE is going to invest in an older guy and give him a big push like that. Even if we haven't really seen the Bully Ray character in WWE, I would be surprised if they did it. They may end up doing it. I would not rule it out, but I think it's unlikely right now. This one comes from Charlie Wong. Hey Aaron, in the near future, should Anderson and Gallows go to SmackDown? Should they be drafted there in their day, and if Raw doesn't go well? I think that might be a smart idea to maybe do a trade. I mean, there's nothing for Anderson and Gallows to do now. They just lost 2 title matches in a row. Where do they go from here? You could have them be traded to SmackDown and reunite them with AJ Styles if AJ's going to stay a heel for the time being. You could have them and AJ reunited and reform the club and get that cooking again. That is something WWE could do that could get Anderson and Gallows back in a top spot in the company, being aligned with AJ again. So I think that that would be a great idea to do something with them, because on Raw it looks like they're going nowhere, and there's no upward movement for them at this point on the Raw roster. This one comes from Daniel Jobber. Can the ending of a pay-per-view main event ruin a pretty decent pay-per-view? Yeah, it can, because fans tend to remember the end of the pay-per-view. They remember the main event, and they remember how the show goes off the air. And sometimes, if you end the pay-per-view on a sour note, that's what fans remember, and they remember the pay-per-view for being bad when it was actually really good. I mean, a good example is like Extreme Rules 2012. I mean, a lot of fans were upset about Cena beating Brock Lesnar, but that was a great pay-per-view. That was one of WWE's best pay-per-views of that period, but fans remember the booking of it and how Cena beat Lesnar in Lesnar's first match back, and people think of that pay-per-view in a negative light. So yeah, that can hurt when a pay-per-view ends on a sour note. Now, as far as Clash of the Champions goes, or Clash of Champions, I think that it did not make that much of a difference because people were expecting it. People were expecting a screwy finish, and I called it. I called that either I called that either Jericho or Triple H would interfere, and it was Jericho that interfered. Owens retained the title. That's exactly what I predicted. It was predictable. So I wasn't really offended because I was expecting it. I was expecting the shenanigans. Now, maybe that's not a good thing. Maybe we shouldn't expect a screw job finish on a pay-per-view main event. But I figured that was the way it was going to be, and I'm not even that bothered by it because we're in an era now where you're paying $9.99 a month. You're not paying $60 per pay-per-view. If that was the case, then I would be furious, and I would not blame people if they were very upset and frustrated with the company. As far as what they did at Clash of Champions, I mean, I'm pretty much just like whatever at this point. I mean, the pay-per-views are $9.99, so why get so worked up about it? But yeah, I would not do it if it was me running WWE. I would avoid trying to do screw job finishes as much as possible, especially on pay-per-views. That'll do it for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Again, stay tuned to NoDQ.com for coverage of the Bound for Glory pay-per-view. Make sure you check out the other videos on the NoDQ YouTube channel at youtube.com/AaronRiftNoDQ. Did a video with Jeff, a video with us together back in person. We answered some of the Facebook questions. It was a live video, so check that out. Check out The Power of Pain with David Payne. He's getting some pretty good reviews, and people are liking that. So check out those videos, and I will see you guys next time for more.